Jay-Z called the Minnesota governor to demand justice for George Floyd, which is a positive step for sure. We were originally criticizing...
like, where is he or what's he doing? Because he was all this upspoken man throughout his career about social justice and stuff, especially for African Americans, and then he was just...
Yeah, especially making the move with the NFL, which had notoriously blackballed players who notoriously Colin Kaepernick, as well as other players who had taken a knee to protest police brutality during the national anthem part of the games. They're still playing the games. They're still doing totally fine, like relatively fine, but like they're just protesting during the most inconsequential part of the game. Anyways, Jay-Z called to demand justice for George Floyd, specifically by saying the officers. Not just the one who had their knee on his neck, but the ones who watched and allowed it to happen on camera, got justice served for them. And shortly after that, the governor announced that he would throw it to the lawmaking officials in that state to kind of see that would happen. So I don't think it was Jay-Z alone, but I think it was like a lot of pressure that ultimately helped to do that. And there was pressure on Jay-Z, I think, to do something from artists like No Name, for example, who indirectly called out Jay-Z and other artists for saying a lot of stuff about black violence, like you were saying earlier, and not really doing a lot of stuff in return. She called out Oprah earlier this week. That was funny.
That was brilliant. I like that a lot.
Yeah, I love her. She's been talking about like maybe releasing one more album and quitting the music world entirely. I hope she at least continues to use her influence in a great way, because she's a
good artist.
Like I said, straight with Vince Staples and the Woke Award there. What else is there? Kanye West. MAGA hat wearing Kanye West has also made himself visible.
He goes from Bush doesn't care about black people to I ride dick for Trump to now he's launching a college fund for George Floyd's daughter. And he's also offered to cover legal fees for families of Ahmaud Arbery and Breonna Taylor. And I'll believe it when I see it.
Yes. He additionally says that he's donating $2 million to Black resistance charities. And again, we said this with the big companies. We'll also say this with Kanye West, who has a history of screwing over charitable organizations.
Yep, we have talked about this many times, about the one in Chicago especially.
Yeah, Donda's house, the one named for his mom. So it's like, it's good to see. I'm not going to drag on. And again, another good thing Kanye West has done at the time of recording this podcast, to my knowledge, he has not really said much about all the Trump stuff or anything like that. So he is doing so far so good. Just like let your money talk. Hopefully there is follow through all of that, and we should make sure to hold Kanye and the institutions that he is donating to accountable to make sure that happens. It's all about follow through with this movement. You can't just like go out and protest and post black squares and call it a day. Anyways, Snoop Dogg, really fast, he says he's going to vote now. He said he had been brainwashed previously into thinking that he couldn't vote and couldn't make a difference, but he's going to cast a ballot this year because he, quote, can't stand to see this punk in office one more year. I guess it's generally fine for Snoop Dogg. We'll note that Snoop Dogg is probably a resident in Los Angeles County, California, in which case his vote literally means nothing.
Yeah.
But if there's anyone in the world who literally listens to Snoop Dogg for their voting opinions, in which case they really shouldn't be, maybe for like choice of marijuana strains, but definitely not for political opinions, maybe lead by example. Tyler, the Creator, had his store looted, and he was totally fine with damage to the golf property store in West Hollywood, saying that this is bigger than getting some glass fixed and buffing some spray paint off. So he's one of these people who you could say, hey, this is a black business owner who got their building damaged during the protests, riots, uprising, whatever you want to call it. But no, he's fine with it. He understands why it's happening. It's not really like that big of a deal. Him and Jasper and Frank Ocean even were actually seen outside in the protests as well. Everyone's out here in the streets. It's real. It's nice to see. And
speaking of that, who else was in there?
Halsey.
She was shot with rubber bullets during. She went to some of the LA protests, and she said that she was struck by rubber bullets, shrapnel, and gasped while participating in the BLM protest on this past Saturday.
In Los Angeles,
in
actually.
LA, yes. Not surprised.
Well, I mean, a lot of people, like, I had rubber bullets, like, shot near me in college, just like, it's just a Berkeley thing. But
just Berkeley things.
There is a big... I think for some reason Halsey gets a lot of crap online for reasons that might be valid, but I don't totally know or understand. But like, and there are a lot of artists who are really out there and protesting. There are photos of Billie Eilish just straight out there with a cardboard sign. Like everyone's just really serious about this. And it's nice to see the solidarity from every part of the music world.